Okay, so you've all made it abundantly clear. You want more Riot MMO content, and I get it. It's exciting. We're all looking forward to a fun new adventure in Runeterra, and we want to know as much as we can about the game. So I gave you a few options of different videos I could make about it on Twitter, and you all chose that you want to see more information about LinkedIn. So here we go. We're going to do a bit of a deep dive on LinkedIn, all the different people who have officially said that they are working on the Riot MMO R&D and kind of their background, different games they've worked on, and their experience, and what we can kind of expect in the future for the Riot MMO release. I will start off by saying I'm not going to go into every single engineer, programmer, or those kinds of people on this game. While their jobs are incredibly important to the release of the game, I don't think it's a very exciting YouTube video to make for you guys. So we're going to stick to the game designers, potentially some of the artists, and then also go over what the openings are for their different job positions and what we can kind of expect from the game based off of the position that they do have available. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Like I said, there's a ton of just great talent here as far as technical directors, software engineers, and other people. I could spend 3 hours, 4 hours just going through these people, and I want to give them a good, big thumbs up for everything that they are doing to make the game great. But let's get into some of the more rock stars and people we can really see some front-facing design from. First off, we've got Justin Hansen here. He is 4 years at Riot Games, principal game designer for R&D MMO. He's been working on the project for currently 1 year, and nobody's technically working, and I'll say this just right off the bat, for the game longer than 1 year. People have been working at Riot for much longer, but they didn't release that they were doing the MMO until about 1 year ago. So nobody's going to say that they've been doing it longer, even though I would assume that they have been working in the background or on the side on the project for a little bit longer. He graduated from Colorado Technical Institute. Previously, he had worked at the Monetization team as the design lead. I would expect that he would have some impact on the monetization, the cash shop, whatever that may look like. Ghostcrawler has said that he is not going to be having anything in the cash shop that will be pay to win, and more give stuff that players want to buy as far as cosmetics and exciting stuff like that. Previously, he was the co-founder at Impulse Games and Red 5 Studios. He was a senior designer, technical designer, and then associate level designer. I know just seconds ago I said we're not going to go over any of the technical people here, but I did want to talk about VJ Thakar. I'm not great with the names, and that's probably going to be a recurring theme for the rest of my YouTube career. He's been at Riot for about 5 years, 6 months, technical director. He had done a unannounced title from September 2016 to November 2018. He once again has been working on the MMO for about a year. I found kind of an interesting post he had made here where he said, "We're starting to lay the tools and pipeline foundations that will power our MMO. If you are or know someone who could be a killer technical leader in the space of modern procedural tooling, pipelines, and techniques, let's chat." This was posted about 3 weeks ago from the time of me recording, and makes it sound like they're not too far along with the technical aspect of things, which kind of will give us a good idea of when the game will be released, because that is the foundation of the MMO, really. I know that they've got some R&D and stuff, and they just got to start working away at it, but he is still looking for talent for the foundations of the game. Next up on the list, we have Shanti Blees. He's the director of content production, which I really have no idea, or initially had no idea what that was. I did a little researching here. Content directors, they kind of do the collaborative skills, the ability to understand and work with stakeholders. This is going to be kind of more of a background monetization type position, I would assume, at least. Previously with Riot, he has kind of done a lot of different things. He's done now the content production. Previously, he was doing IP production. And then he's done creative development, esports managing, and game analyst, I guess, which is, who knows, your guess is as good as mine. He hasn't worked on anything aside from Riot Games, even though he's been with them for 10 years. And it's probably just kind of more of the R&D type background stuff and potential for the game in general. Next up, we have Greg Falis. He is the art director of the MMO. He's been working on that for, once again, about a year. Previously, before that, he was the art director for Legends of Runeterra. You can kind of go through some of Runeterra, Legends of Runeterra, at least their different artworks and stuff, and you can kind of get an idea of the direction that he's done, the different concept arts, just overall overarching art direction is kind of what his focus has been on Legends of Runeterra. Now we're going to get into some of the more kind of juicy designers for the game. Next up, we have Mark Scruffy Yetter. He is the game director for the Riot MMO. Previously at Riot Games, he's worked as a game director, design director, lead game designer for League of Legends, where he worked on champions, game balance, game systems. He's going to have a huge role on the MMO and its design decisions. So he's someone, if you want to keep up to date with information about the game, I would follow him on Twitter. He posts a lot as well as in a similar fashion to Ghostcrawler, so he is definitely worth checking out on there. Before working at Riot though, he did multiplayer systems design, implementation, and balancing for Black Ops 2 at Treyarch, and he was game designer at Timegate Studios, where he developed RTS and FPS games, and then he was a software engineer, so he does have the engineering background to kind of connect it all. He is a graduate from Harvard as well, the Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science. I'm not going to spend too much time on Greg Street or Ghostcrawler as we refer to him in some of our other videos, just simply based on the fact that we have kind of just dug him apart and done everything we can to talk about him in the previous video, which I'll link at the top here for if you wanted to go check that out. But I didn't really go over his LinkedIn too much, where he has worked at Riot Games for the past 8 years. Obviously, he's been doing the MMO stuff for the last year or so. He was VP of IP and Entertainment, which is kind of my estimate personally of where either this position or the position of Head of Creative Development, where they started kind of R&Ding the information about the MMO, if they could even potentially do it. So that's like 3 years, 8 months would be probably the longest they've been working on it previously. Once again, like we all know, he was the lead systems designer at World of Warcraft, where he did class, item, profession, combat, PvP, encounter, UI, just a little bit of everything over there. Age of Empires previously before that, and he graduated from the University of Texas at Austin with a marine science degree, which obviously doesn't really carry over too much into the MMO world, but you know, he's done some cool stuff with that degree itself. So obviously it's not too much about the degree and more about their experience. And lastly, I did want to go over, another name. I'm going to go Mathias T. He is the principal game designer. I would assume he's working a lot on the quest lines and the storylines within the MMO, because that's kind of where his background is. Previously, he had worked at CD Projekt Red for some time, working on quest direction for Cyberpunk 2077, and he was the game director for Gwent, Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales, and he's just kind of done a lot of quest design and story design for CD Projekt Red regarding Cyberpunk 2077, as well as the Witcher series. I think for him, we can see a lot of questing that will be in the MMO and what the future of that looks like. So if you wanted to get an idea of his work, I would maybe check out The Witcher. You can check out Cyberpunk 2077. I haven't looked at it in a long time. It was a little rough around the edges when it first came out, but maybe pretty good now. I remember the quests were just solid though, very entertaining. Last, I wanted to talk a little bit about the job postings and different things that maybe we can get a little bit of information about the game directly from what they're looking for. I think some of the kind of standout positions that they have are just kind of gameplay, overall gameplay. They don't really show a lot of information because they're trying to keep it pretty, I don't know, you're applying for jobs that you really don't even know what you're going to be working on too much. They have metagame systems, so that's going to be just all the different side stuff in the game. They have weapons, so they're looking for someone who has experience with weapons. This is a whole job position based around weapons. And I just wanted to go over one little tweet too here where Ghostcrawler had made a slideshow to go over what the combat in the MMO would look like, and he showed some different games. And one of them was Elden Ring, where he said, mostly as a joke, but I somehow expect it may not be. So we can kind of, I don't think we can really pull too much information from that. I think this is a bit of a joke from him. He was asked also, is there any other games that you could tell us that were on that list? And he said, nope, it's spoilery. They have an idea of the direction that they're going for, but I think it's a little, if you shared it with us, it'd be a little bit too obvious. And that's all I got for you today. No, it wasn't a lot. It was kind of just weird side information. Doesn't really tell us a lot, and I think I'm kind of just scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point. But I do promise once we get a little more information, we'll be getting these videos pumped out weekly, daily even for that matter, depending on how much information we get. So as always, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.